Good afternoon to everyone, and let us start this evening's proceedings. Welcome to Perseverance Landfill, and we would like to begin by asking God's blessings on this afternoon's ceremony. And to do so, we'd like to invite to the podium Mr. Burke Braveboy. He is the landfill supervisor for Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. Mr. Braveboy.
All right. If you can just all stand. All right. Most kind and loving Father, indeed we are thankful to you for allowing us to have the breath of life and to be able to be here today for this very important ceremony. We pray that as we commence, that your presence would be among us, O God, and that we would be able to have the understanding that waste management is important. And so, Father, as we enter into our final cell, we pray that you would give us the understanding, oh God, that we need to be able to implement various measures that would allow for us to recycle and to reuse so that we can extend this cell as much as possible. And so, Father, we pray that you would just by extension bless the political personnel, the staff of the authority, oh God, and the public at large, so that they too would be able to understand the dynamics which we are about to commence today. And so we just ask your kind blessings upon everything that we do today. In Jesus' name we pray thanksgiving. Amen.
Sorry, please remain standing for the singing of the national anthem. Hail, Grenada, land of ours, we pledge ourselves to thee. Heads, hearts, and hands in unity to reach our destiny. Ever conscious of God, being proud of our heritage, may we with faith and courage aspire, build, advance. As one people, one family, God bless our nation. Please be seated. At this time, I'd like to call on General Manager of the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority, Mr. Lyndon Robinson, to deliver the official welcome and opening remarks.
Members of the head table, Honorable Karen James, Minister of Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy, Dr. Tessa Sincere, Deputy Chair, the Board of Directors, Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority, Mr. Ronald Roach, Consultant to the OECS from Unite Caribbean, colleague Mr. Alison Neptune and Buck Braveboy, fellow colleagues of the Solid Waste Management Authority, sanitation service providers, persons from line ministries, NGOs, the media, and all. Let me take the opportunity, the pleasure, and maybe say the pride to welcome you to our Perseverance landfill and the opening of what we call the Halifax cell. Now, the fact that we are gathered here at this time of the year when we have almost daily torrential rainfall and about 50 or more % of the waste we receive, the components of that waste are putrescible. It therefore means that whatever we are doing is working and should continue to work. It means that the anaerobic or the semi-aerobic sanitary landfill that was built and we continue to expand on is actually working, and we would do our level best to keep that operation to the point where we would have that waste being disposed and managed in a sanitary manner as possible to reduce the impacts on human health and to protect the environment. I would also like to thank those who contributed to the design and construction of the landfill, and those in the virtual space, Idea Consulting and the engineering firm that actually was responsible for the works. In VCU is 7,000, and the subcontractors who provided the requisite equipment and skills in order to complete the final cells of our Perseverance landfill. Now, it is what you call a turning point for waste management in Grenada, in that we are commissioning our new and final cell, the Halifax cell, and we are also mindful that we are on a trajectory. That means that we are challenged by finding not only adequate space, but how do we move forward in the future with regards to managing our waste in a responsible manner. We would employ all the techniques that are possible. But importantly, we began to prepare for this day some time ago as we move towards the pathway of transitioning waste to a resource, and also activating that important strategic objective of the authority, that is to recycle about 80% of the waste we generate by 2030 to 2035. So 60% by 2030 and 80% by 2035. It means that what we are striving towards, we are trying our utmost best in order to extend the life of the $16 million investment that created 263,000 cubic meters of landfilling space that we would need to expand and extend that lifespan as much as possible. So we are trying the magic of aiming towards infinity. It therefore means that we need to close that loop with regards to how we manage our waste, and we need to have the principles of the circular economy incorporated in everything we do. Yesterday, we launched the Recycle OECS project, and we have here with us Ms. Jacobs from the OECS Commission, and also Mr. Roach representing the OECS Commission. And that is an important step for us, because that European Union funded project would allow us to access resources for capital investment and to operationalize recycling in Grenada. So we have some infant steps that we need to take, and we need to pledge to a full recycling facility. We need to expand from waste stream to waste stream. And we are actually energized by the work of some NGOs and private sector members We have with us here Mr. Hostialik, who has been pushing us with regards to getting Grenada to be a model for recycling in the Caribbean. So the opening or the commissioning of these cells is something that we have to be very careful with. And it does not allow us to have the capacity to absorb all the waste that you produce. So reducing the waste direct from the source would be a critical element, as well as having the mechanism in place for us to separate the waste at the source so that we could recycle and do it in a responsible and a manner that is financially acceptable. In closing, I would like to say thank you to everyone who contributed to this landfill and all those who have led the path before. We have among us here Dr. Braffett, our former chairman of the board of directors, and he is here with us sitting in the audience, and he would know of the steps that were taken for us to get to this stage. We must also appreciate the work of the current board of directors who have been doing everything, committed and doing everything possible for us to manage our waste in Grenada as responsible as possible. Thank you one and all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robinson. Now, as you would have heard from our dear General Manager, I think he's trying to driving a sense of urgency as it pertains to waste diversion and recycling, and trying to extend on the life of this final cell, which will be commissioned this afternoon. Now, 27 years ago, the OECS held our hands and brought us new approaches to waste management in the OECS. Grenada was part of that process. And one of the outcomes of that was the shift away from open dump systems to landfilling. And under this project, the World Bank assisted with the construction of this landfill facility, which should have had 6 cells, but we did suffer some collapse approximately 9 months into the commissioning of that first cell. Quite a lot has been done in terms of the studies to look into what is the best approach to continue to use this site for, again, landfilling. It's not a very ideal location, but again, the OECS has held our hands and recognized that we have quite a facility here that has limited resources. And so at this time, we are happy that yesterday, just falling on the heels of the opening this ceremony here, we are able to partner again with the OECS, not under the OECS Solid and Ship Generate Waste Management Project, but under the OECS Commission, the introduction of Recycle OECS. This tells us that we have the support of the region. We are going to be partnering in the region, and we'll hear more about this. And so this afternoon, we are pleased to have with us the consultants who have the technical expertise that would give us all the guidance necessary to address the whole issue of waste diversion. And so at this stage, I'd like to invite Mr. Ronald Roach. He is from United Caribbean and also SORAC, the Sorica, the companies who have been given that consultancy to do the technical support for the Recycle OECS project. Mr. Roach.
Ms. Karine James, Minister of Climate Resilience, the Environment, Renewable Energy. Dr. Tessa Sincere, Deputy Chair, Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. Mr. Lyndon Robertson, General Manager of the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority, Mr. Allison Neptune, Operations Manager of the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority, and other distinguished management and staff of the authority, Mr. Michel Labertini and Dimitri Abado of the Hydea Consulting Team, waste management contractors, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to bring remarks on today's commissioning of the Halifax cell at this Perseverance landfill site. It is certainly no coincidence that this landmark event today was preceded by yesterday's launch of another landmark undertaking for which the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority is the country implementing partner, and that is the Recycle OECS project. The Recycle OECS project is a regional project of the OECS Commission being implemented in partnership with the French Development Agency and funded by the European Union. The project aims to reduce plastic pollution in the OECS region through the establishment of a complete value chain for recycling starting in 2 OECS member states, Grenada and Dominica. And I think we should all give ourselves a round of applause that Grenada has been one of those member states selected for this project. I represent the consulting consortium of Sureka and Unite Caribbean, and our job is to work with the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority and its counterpart waste management authorities in the OECS to first design a model for sustainable waste separation, collection, and recycling that can be later adopted and adapted by other SIDS in the OECS and beyond. Secondly, we will guide and support Grenada and Dominica in the implementation of demonstration projects with not just the OECS waste management authorities looking on, but even CARIFORUM countries and beyond. In our small island developing states, the establishment of a national recycling program for plastic waste goes beyond environmental considerations. It is a catalyst for economic growth and social empowerment. A well-designed recycling program has the potential to create new job opportunities in waste management, recycling facilities, and research and development. Moreover, it can promote environmental awareness, educating our citizens about the importance of sustainable consumption and waste management practices. By engaging communities, schools, and businesses in this endeavor, we can foster a sense of responsibility towards our environment, transforming our society into environmental stewards. However, establishing a national recycling program is a complex task that requires collaboration, investment, and strategic planning. It calls for the joint efforts of policymakers, government officials, private sector stakeholders, and the community. By aligning our objectives and pooling our resources, we can unlock the potential for a thriving recycling industry that contributes to both environmentally sustainability and economic development. The opportunity to implement the Recycle OECS model situates Grenada and Dominica as waste management trendsetters in the Caribbean as it relates to circular economy practices. All OECS countries are grappling with the problem of landfill space. All are grappling with the threat of plastic pollution to the sustainability of those economic sectors that serve as pillars of the economies and on which livelihoods, public health, climate resilience, and food security rests. Indeed, I encourage us all to see today's commissioning ceremony on the heels of the launch of the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority's Recycle OECS demonstration yesterday. This places Grenada at the vanguard of the CARIFORUM Zero Waste movement and as a case study for transitioning to a circular economy for SIDS everywhere. On behalf of the Sureka Unite Caribbean Consulting Team, I commend the Government of Grenada and the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority for their efforts in rehabilitating the existing landfill and creating the new Halifax cell to provide sanitary landfill services for the next few years. We look forward to working with you to harness the transformational potential of a new national recycling program through the Recycle OECS project and pave the way towards a greener, cleaner, and more resilient future, thereby ensuring maximum remaining life of the Perseverance site that can be realized. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roach. This sets the stage for quite a lot of public education that has to be done in terms of not just those listening here, but we know that quite a lot, well, we need to get compliance from the entire state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique if we ought to succeed in any waste diversion initiative. And so we are committed, the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. I think that we went all out to ensure that this project is brought to Grenada. Hence, I think that we topped the list of qualifying countries to have this project implemented here. And we would not let down on that momentum going forward. Now, the Integrated Solid Waste Management Project for Grenada comprised a number of consultancies. And under this project, one of the consultancies was the rehabilitation of the Perseverance landfill. It had a lot to do also with the old site, the old problematic site that really was a challenge, not for us alone in terms of addressing the whole issue of the waste, huge waste quantities going there, the fires, etc. But I think for all of Grenada, we know its contribution to pollution of the Halifax Bay, the frequent fires, etc. And it was capped before, it is now capped again. Completely, we hope this time. I don't think that we can go back to that site to use that site again. I think that quite a lot has been done to bring it to the stage that it is. The other components would be this landfill project, rehabilitation of this landfill site and the construction of the new cell that is to be known as the Halifax cell. To give us some more insight into the Integrated Solid Waste Management Project and this landfill project, no other person than the project manager and our operations manager, Mr. Alison Neptune.
Yeah, so I can do this. You on? Good afternoon, folks. Good afternoon, colleagues. Minister, it's good to see you here. It's not very often that we have all that visitors to the landfill. It's not one of the first place would be on your visitors list, but we are happy that you are here. And my name is Alison Neptune. I would just do an overview of the Integrated Solid Waste Project, specifically the landfill, the construction of the landfill. It's a little, oh, so. Okay, looks like we're up. Okay, the contents of this presentation, we're going to look at just a background of that project. We will look also at the project summary, a description of the project. We would also look at some contract information, the layout, the original scope of the project, and we'll look at some additional works. Okay, let's review slides.
Yeah, just put it full screen. Put it full screen.
Where is it? Are we seeing it?
Yeah, see that.
Okay, good. All right. So let me just go back to where. All right.
Just go to full screen presentation.
Okay.
Okay, so 105.
And now, are we okay? Oh, good. All right, good. So let me go on to the next slide. We're going to look at some of the additional works that were done and take a look at the leachate pond layout and the design cell capacity, and we'll finally look at some challenges that we had. In 2001, as Ms. Julian would have mentioned, the first of 6 cells were commissioned. And that cell 1 just lasted 1 year because of heavy rains and landslides and that cell collapsed. Then in 2009, a consulting firm was hired to do a design that would basically, that design would be a design that would enable us to continue to use those cells. Idea, which is an Italian company, was then contracted to review the previous design. And they had some changes to that design. So Idea, as the consultant, was hired to create a new design, prepare the tender documents, and to supervise the works that was done. Inversiones 7000 was contracted to do the work, to complete the work. This is some loan information here. Some of you may have interest in it. It's the total project loan would have been about $15 million US, but that did not involve only the solid waste or the construction of the landfill. There were many different components which was part of the integrated solid waste management project. The project in itself, it involved a land acquisition. We had a situation where that section of the Perseverance area, we had persons living on those, and we had to get them out so that we can use that area for the leachate pond. But that took a while, but eventually we got them, they were out. Then we look at the civil works. This is also the major component of the Perseverance landfill. Then we have the equipment, where we are expected to buy some new trucks. And so institutional strengthening and capacity building, public awareness, monitoring and evaluation, and composting feasibility studies are all part of the integrated solid waste management project. But we are going to zero in on the construction of the Perseverance landfill, or what we can refer to as the additional cells. We have to understand that initially cell 1 was developed, and I said this collapsed. So we had cell 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that is what we are concentrating more on now. Contract information, we would not go into that a little bit, but I can tell you that the contractor, which is Inversiones, 7,000, they were contracted to do the civil works, that is to build that landfill. This is a layout of the site. What you're seeing here would be, if we look at here, that is the main road that we're talking about along this western main road. This area is what we refer to as the berm. And I could tell you that Perseverance is not one of the most suitable sites for a landfill. We've spent a lot of money in building retaining structures. Because of the slope, because of the instability of the soil, the land, we've had to spend a lot of money. Instead of that money going into more landfill space, it's like you're building a house on a slope, and you have to build a big back wall. That is going to take 10% or 15% of your monies. So that is what it is. We had to spend a lot of money on building retaining structures so that at least we could create an area for that space. That red line, if you can see, this is the new road, the construction of that new road, and that brought us to the top of the Tipping Bay area. Now, I said cell 1 and cell 2. Cell 1 was developed, cell 2 was not developed, but we still had the space area for that. And so, therefore, that road was constructed so that we can access that space up at cell 2. And it's exactly, if we go up to the top where you would see that Tipping Bay area, that is what we refer to as the cell 2. And then the new landfill is what we basically would refer to as cell 3, 4, 5, and 6. The original scope, and I'm saying original because we've had some additional works done. The original scope was to rehabilitate cell 1 and 2, construct the new landfill and the leachate treatment area, which is on the other side of the road. The new access road, that is what I was talking about, that concrete road that brings us up to the top of cell 2. And washing bay. Washing bay refers to where the trucks come from dumping, that they can wash before they get back onto our main street areas. Closure of old dump site. That was a separate component. That was a separate component that we now incorporated as part of the works that the original or the contractor had to perform. So that many of you would have passed the area and would see how much this has improved. All right. The cell had to be reshaped. We had to bring in soil and create a stable slope so that now we can have a stable area where later on in the years to come, we could probably use this for additional sites. The installation, additional works. And so when the scope was first communicated to the contractor, these works were not included. And so then we included the installation of solar panels that will provide 25 kilowatts of power. The intention is that that section of the landfill area would be run solely on solar power, and we have enough that we can sell to Grenada to the grid. So that is one way. We've also built a water harvesting tank where we can store 35 gallons of water, 35,000 gallons, that is, of water. Yeah. And, and a lot of that water, we have pumping facilities that we would pump up to the tanks, and that water can be used to wash down the areas, wash the tractors, and in cases that we have fires, we can still use those that water in that tank to do that. Complementing that also is that we've run what we refer to as a fire hose or water hose. Actually, it's about 1,400 feet from the bay in the dry season, so we don't have to use, in the dry season, we don't have to use water from Nawasa, and so that we can pump it from the bay. So it sort of belts around the landfill, and the lines are at the top, and then we can connect those, and if we do have fires, we can use those to out the fires. All right? And we've also, if you drive along that side, you'll see metal balers platform that we've constructed, and also the diesel tank platform. We've moved the diesel tank from where it was, and so these are all additional works that we've listed. You probably might not see much on that, but this is a leachate treatment pond. Now, leachate in itself is just the rain falling onto the garbage. And from that, you have this gray, black water that has everything you could think about in it. Everything. Because we all know, because of how we dump everything in our garbage. And so you can have paint, you can have whatever chemical you could think about, medicines, whatever chemical you could think about, it is in that landfill. So then, when the rain falls onto that area, it just soaks through, and that is that water that would come from that we call leachate. Now, previously, that used to just go down straight to the river. But what we've done is that we've built what we refer to as leachate treatment pond that has 3 different sections where we collect the leachate. The leachate is then treated, and then the final stage, it is then pumped up to the old dump site. And for those of you, when we get to the top, you would see some pipe network that goes around the old dump site. This is what we refer to our irrigation lines. So the leachate water now would then be pumped up to the top of the old dump site and then distributed through those lines to irrigate the grass and the other stuff that we've planted to stabilize the slope. That says here, cell 1 and 2, and I want you to take note of design. All right, cell 1 and 2, we have 60. Let me pull this aside. We have 61 cubic meters. Now, that in itself may not mean anything to you. If I tell you 60 cubic meters of space, it don't mean anything. If I tell you 1 year of space, it would mean something more to you, right? And we have, from this, remember I said to you, cell 1 collapsed and cell 2 was not developed, but it still had available space. That was that concrete line, concrete road that we talk about to the top. So we still have, that was a space that was available at that time. We've used up a lot of that since. The new landfill, we have 174,000 cubic meters. Initially, there was a time frame on those, but we have to be mindful that the time frame that we put on those depends on the volume of waste that we generate. And I'm saying design. When this was done, it was in 2009, and so we were using data that were 10, 15 years old. And at that time, the waste that was generated, we could have said, well, you know what, we'll get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years from that landfill space. But I can tell you that our waste generation has increased significantly, and so the numbers now, we may have to do some adjustment to that numbers. Now, if we want to extend, and we're hearing that we need to extend the life of this landfill, we have to ensure that not all this waste come into the landfill. There are a lot of stuff that definitely should not be coming in. We don't need to have all this bush and all this stuff coming into the landfill, right? So there are many different ways we try to see how we can divert this waste, and we have, as part of the project, we have the composting feasibility study that would try and address those areas, so that at least we can divert those and extend the life of that landfill. Most people don't like landfill close to them. And so we've tried to find additional landfill space, but you go and it's close to this house, it's close to this, and whatever it is. And so we then had to come back to Perseverance. That's why I said to you, Perseverance is not the suitable place for a landfill, but it's the only place that we have at present. All right? If anybody has space close enough to them for a landfill, let me know so that'll make my work at least easier. Okay? So it's something that we have to be mindful that it's very difficult for us in solid waste to keep finding space. So the approach now has to be is, you know what, we need to reduce on the volume of waste that is coming to the landfill. There are a lot of stuff that should not be coming. I know there's this correlation is as we become wealthier, we generate more waste, but it's not always the case. And it should not always be the case. There are times when the shoemaker would repair the shoe and everything like that. Now we change it and we get another one, and this other one goes to the landfill. Okay? I'm coming close now. The challenges, some of the challenges, and if you note, I'm saying some of the challenges. The rains. When we started that project, we had been hit with a lot of rains. And the issue with Perseverance area is that this soil has a high level of clay in it. So even if it rains for one day, that does not mean that work is going to start the next day, because clay basically keeps the water in. And so sometimes we have 3 days without we being able to do. So that would have affected the project time. The slope stability, and I said significant amount of money we had to put into building retaining structures. The berm, which is basically to keep the garbage in, that berm cost over $1 million, just the berm to build. All right? We're not talking about the landfill space or other things like that. Just the berm, the retaining berm, cost over $1 million to build. COVID-19, because this project would have started even when we had COVID, and we had issues where persons not being able to travel. You have businesses closing down, and equipment. If your equipment broke down, you could not go to this area to have it repaired because that shop was closed, and so therefore that affected us. And The last part is we had to, in some cases, we had to reallocate some funds from one side of the project into the other side of the project, so at least we can have those areas financed. Did you see that slide? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neptune, for that very detailed explanation of the whole project that is giving birth to the Perseverance final cell for waste disposal. Now, you would have heard in Mr. Neptune's presentation that there were quite a lot of challenges in terms of getting to the stage where we are at this time. Now, the design consultants, Hydea SPA, worked with what was presented based on a number of studies which were done previously. And they came up with the best design for this site, given all the challenges that were presented. And I think that they did quite a good job in terms of coping with what they had to work with. And we would hear from them, themselves, what it was like working here at Perseverance to present to us the rehabilitated Perseverance landfill facility. And so we are happy to have with us, joining in from Italy virtually, Mr. Michele Lambertini and Mr. Dimitri Abado, and so of Hydea SPA. And so we are very happy that they are taking the time to be with us here today virtually, and we would like to, at this time, welcome them for the virtual presentation. I think it is night time in Italy at this time. Good night to Michele and good night to Mr. Abado. Welcome.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, Michele, we're hearing you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks everybody and for having us here. And good afternoon to you. Yeah, it's almost night here, but there's still some light. Yeah, again, I've heard Mr. Allison, Mr. Neptune about the challenges that has been also mentioned right now. And definitely the construction of the new cell, the rehabilitation of the old dump has been a long and quite difficult process. The design had to take in consideration the not optimal condition of the site, that is an unstable site, not the stability of the site is not optimal. As a matter of fact, there was a landslide in 2001. So the design had to take care of this difficult local condition. And as Mr. Neptune mentioned, one of the biggest thing that we had to take care of was the construction of the retention wall, the retention berm at the base to allow to increase the volume of the landfill without excavation, or with very limited excavation, because excavation could have destabilized the site again. So, as I said, it was quite a challenge for us, both in the design phase and also during the construction. Nevertheless, we are at the end of that process. Now, as Mr. Allison said, Mr. Neptune said, the main challenge is to use that volume in the best way, because the landfill volume is not as much as it would have been needed. It would have been expected, spending so much money. So diversion of the waste, that is also one thing that we took care of in the design, creating the possibility of diverting some kind of waste, such as green waste, construction demolition waste, not to waste the volume, the variable volume of that landfill. So diversion of the waste is definitely a priority for Grenada right now. I'm very happy and very glad that what I heard at the beginning, that now Grenada has been selected for pilot recycling projects, if I got it correctly. And I think that it's a very good choice using Grenada for this, because as I always say, even if I'm a landfill designer, landfill is not the most important thing to have. What is the most important is the capability of operating the system. And I've seen that the Grenada Authority has made a huge improvement in this regard. So I'm glad to hear that, and I'm not surprised that they have been selected for this recycling project, because in Grenada there is the capability, also the need, but mainly the capability for carry on such a project. So my best wishes to the authority for this new project, and that's it. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Michele. Is Dimitri there?
Okay. Sorry, Dimitri,
Okay.
I don't think he's available. I tried to get in contact, but he's no more online. I'm sorry.
Okay, so our deputy chair, Dr. Tessa Sincere, she's always filling in for our chairman, who is quite busy, but I think he's out at this time. And so I would like to invite her at this time for expressions of appreciation and to accept the official handover of the site from Hydia SBA to Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. Dr. Sincere.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will stand on an abbreviated protocol. Minister Kirin James, consultants, Mr. Lambertini, and in his absence, Mr. Abado, Mr. Lyndon Braveboy, Mr. Lyndon Robertson, mixing up the Lyndons, Mr. Lyndon Robertson, GM, always a pleasure, Mr. Burke, Brave Boy, Mr. Roach, and I want to specially recognize the presence of Dr. Brathwaite, who is here this afternoon, appreciating the work that was done by the former board. In his absence, I am standing for the chairman of the board, Mr. Trevor Thompson, Sembernad, Mr. Trevor Sembernad. And I take this opportunity to appreciate the work done by Idea SPA, appreciate the efforts that have been put into this project, appreciate the work done by GSWMA Underground in collaboration with the consultant. And in accepting this handover, I would like to identify, to recognize some of the challenges that the company faced in relation to this commissioning of the Halifax cell. Challenge number 1, designing the landfill cell on a hillside was not the ideal location for engineering the method of waste disposal required for a semi-aerobic landfill facility. Challenge number 2, limited space to create the cell and at the same time construct cell walls to contain waste with the required pipe network contained in both the base and drums for air exchange and leachate runoff for treatment. In relation to that challenge number 3, this was compounded by the need to establish a buffer zone away from the Sally River to prevent water pollution, something we can all appreciate. Challenge number 4, there could have been further loss of space had the company gone ahead with constructing the wetland treatment on the landfill site. With good guidance, the company was creative in suggesting the relocation of the leachate treatment pond to near the old dump site. This has helped to create more space for cell development on the site. Challenge number 5. The creation of the wetland treatment system is indeed a commendable approach to treating leachate and stormwater coming from the landfill, and the idea of naturally treating the liquid runoff from the artificial wetland system. And that's both creative and considered the best choice for the area where the natural mangrove in the area has been badly impacted by pollution from the old dump. Number 6, maintaining a safe space buffer zone from the Sally River. And finally, in a bid to ensure there is the application of an appropriate filling plan for the landfill, staff is delighted with the training sessions, and we can always appreciate that if we do not have training adequate and appropriate training, challenges will emerge. So the staff is delighted with the training sessions held thus far by Idea SP to familiarize them with this new system of waste disposal. We hope that the training will be ongoing in the best interest of extending the life of the landfill, while the Solid Waste Management Authority continues to search for a new location for constructing another landfill. Now, Mr. Braveboy said if you have land, Mr. Neptune said if you have land in your backyard, close to you, in the vicinity somewhere, let him know. But I know that at the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority, there is an acknowledgement that nobody wants that in their backyard. So it's NIMBY, not in my backyard. And we can all appreciate that. So having acknowledged that, it would be remiss of me, irresponsible even, if I do not point to the SDG number 12, which speaks to responsible consumption and production. We keep hearing waste diversion, but we are consuming in such a way, and I acknowledge that every year there is, I believe, a 10% increase of waste coming to the Perseverance landfill. If we do not engage in responsible consumption, then I am sorry, but a landfill will be coming to a neighborhood near you. I must also acknowledge SDG number 15, life on land, or is it 14? 15, so I'm correct. Life on land. And I would like you to take a minute, for those of us who are physically here, to think about it. Think about our practices. Think about our methods of waste disposal. And we can appreciate the need for us to do better, for us to separate our waste, even though we do not have those very, very instructive new bins that solid waste has now implemented. We can indeed, starting from our very personal disposal of waste, our families' disposal of waste, to start engaging in waste separation, which will facilitate the waste diversion that we would like to see. We are currently putting everything in the garbage bin, in the garbage bags, for the garbage disposal trucks to pick up. We have to engage in proper waste disposal. Or again, let me rub it in. A landfill will be coming to a neighborhood close to you, or close to us, if we do not do better. My final words. While we are commissioning the Halifax cell this afternoon, let us understand the stark reality that it is. If we continue to consume as we are currently consuming, and engaging in the same waste disposal behaviors in which we are currently engaging, this cell is only going to last approximately 5 years. If we do worse, then the landfill life the cell life will be shortened. And I can tell you 5 years is just now. I like that. It's just now. So again, in closing, let me implore on all of us to engage in these very important ideals of solid waste management, the 5 R's. Reuse, recycle, repurpose, refuse. When you go to the supermarkets, refuse to buy products in certain containers. Refuse to have your food provided to you, especially those that you're taking away. Refuse. Yes? What did I miss? Recycle, reuse, reduce, and repair. Okay, so we have 6 R's. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sincere. Again, another call right? Another sending of that message of urgency that we need to move away from the practice of landfilling all our waste. Thank you so very much for really driving home that message, Dr. Sincere. At this time, we are delighted to have with us our Minister for Climate Resilience, Renewable Energy and the Environment, Honorable Karine James. She is the minister, our line minister, and we are happy that we are the only statutory body under that ministry, which means that we are under the microscope all the time. So I know that she's aware of everything that is going on in solid waste, and she can speak maybe more about waste management than I do, because she's into everything waste management at this time. And so I'd like to invite Minister James at this time to deliver the feature address. Then this would be followed by the opening of the entry to the Halifax cell. Minister.
Thank you so much, Mistress Julian. Let me recognize the colleagues on the head table. I'll start first with Dr. Tessa Sincere, Deputy Chair of the Board of Directors, Mr. Lyndon Robertson, General Manager. We have some of our supervisor, Mr. Burke Braveboy. We also have other managers, supervisors, and other staff members of the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. To the design consultants, Mr. Michael Lambertini and Mr. Abadu, pleasant afternoon. To those stakeholders, NGO representatives, I see a representative from NAWASA, all other persons who took the time out, to the persons who engage on a daily basis with the waste collection. I see you, I recognize you. Thank you so very much for coming, and a pleasant afternoon. A pleasant afternoon. Right. We assemble to acknowledge the International Day of the Preservation of Mangrove Ecosystems, an appropriate occasion to launch the final waste disposal unit, the Halifax cell, designed to staunch the flow of pollutants besieging the precious Halifax harbor from terrestrial sources. Our mission is twofold: to guard the intricate ecosystem of the mangroves against invasive waste and safeguard the flourishing Halifax Bay. As we unveil this Halifax cell at Perseverance, its mandate mirrors our own: a relentless commitment to environmental stewardship and preservation. And I think Dr. Sincere really drive home that point very succinctly in her presentation. The upcoming half-decade represents a pivotal juncture of this endeavor. Approximately 48,000 tons of waste flow into this facility annually, and with a maximum capacity of 240,000 tons, it is clear that alternate waste management strategies are imminent. It's a toss-up between expansion of landfills or embracing innovative, sustainable technologies such as waste reduction, segregation at the source, waste treatment, recycling, or waste-to-energy initiatives. It is my personal inclination to pursue the latter path. The concept of waste disposal through landfills consigns invaluable resources to oblivion. However, this very waste holds the potential for new industries. I implore our young generation to recognize the hidden treasure in what we discard, to invent and innovate, reclaiming, repurposing, or recycling these materials. We as a society must strive for a paradigm shift in our attitudes towards waste, rejecting its generation, identifying potential resources, and resisting the allure of easy disposal. Landfills, particularly on our smaller islands, are a global challenge and a significant contributor to the methane emissions that are accelerating global warming. The ramifications of climate change are no longer speculative but tangible. More potent weather systems, coastal erosions, shrinking landmass, severe droughts, and prolonged dry periods. Not so. To defend our delicate coastal areas, we must become the change we advocate. Transitioning swiftly from methane production to more sustainable, eco-friendly waste management strategies is an imperative. As the minister responsible for the environment, I pledge to guide our nation towards a future that restricts global temperature rise below 1.5 degrees Celsius, thereby mitigating the catastrophic impacts of climate change. This transition from landfills and open dumps is a modest stride on this path. Although seemingly insignificant globally, the aggregate impact of such measures can indeed move mountains. Innovative changes has been introduced to the landfill design, such as incorporating a pipe network to stimulate air circulation and reduce methane emissions, and we saw it in the presentation. These adaptations, along with introduction of a comprehensive air quality monitoring system, leachate treatment, and ground and surface water monitoring, are praiseworthy initiatives to ensure our operations do not detrimentally impact our neighboring ecosystems. These advancements showcase the significance of creativity and technology in fostering sustainable development. Outdated, polluting waste management systems are unattainable. We must strive towards environmentally friendly systems that prioritize the health and well-being of our community, maintain the aesthetic appeal of our surroundings, and bolster our tourism industry. Our mission is to transform waste management Our mission to transform waste management requires a multi-sectoral approach. Collaborating with the Physical Development and Planning Authority, the RGPF, and the Ministry of Social Development has enabled us to tackle unplanned housing, illegal waste scavenging, and related antisocial behavior. Our goal, ladies and gentlemen, is a safe, efficient, and progressive waste management facility. Over the next 5 years, we aim to foster partnerships with our OECS neighbors to establish an effective waste management system. By combining our waste volumes, we can establish sustainable waste businesses, facilitated by the timely launch of the Recycle OECS project for Grenada. Our ultimate goal is to transition from costly landfills to waste recycling, leveraging the 40 million EC dollars invested in the project. As we launch this model regional recycling initiative, I extend my gratitude to the OECS Commission and HIDEA SPA, who faced considerable challenges in designing this landfill project. Drawing lessons from past experiences and exhaustive investigative work over the last decade and a half, they have delivered a product that serves our waste disposal needs effectively and professionally, and they deserve a round of applause. Their resilience and ingenuity are a testament to their commitment to sustainable waste management. I offer my heartfelt appreciation to the Caribbean Development Bank for their instrumental role in the Integrated Solid Waste Management Project, which included the Perseverance Landfill Rehabilitation Project and various other initiatives. As the Minister, I will ensure that my ministry creates an enabling environment for the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority to meet its strategic objectives. The Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority's strategic goals, including landfilling all waste at a sanitary engineered landfill and closing all existing non-sanitary landfills by 2025, are on track to be achieved 2 years ahead of schedule. They deserve a round of applause. Other objectives, such as treating biomedical waste and establishing a facility for derelict vehicles, are also on course. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to inaugurate the Halifax cell. I extend my commendations to the entire Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority team and all who contributed to this endeavor thus far. Let us all continue to move forward together, demonstrating our unwavering commitment to environmental preservation and sustainable waste management. And with that, it therefore gives me great pleasure to commission the Halifax cell. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister James. I think that, again, this sets the stage for the mood for solid waste management for the next 5 years here at this facility. We cannot continue, Mr. Braveboy, business as usual here. We have to be very watchful in terms of what is entering our landfill site. We need to save the space. Minister has just commissioned the new cell. And speaking from experience, I was in shock when our first cell was constructed to observe the rate at which truckloads upon truckloads of material that shouldn't be placed in that cell was brought to that facility. It was almost filled before it actually collapsed. So this sounds the message that we ought to be watchful in terms of, yes, we're now open, but we're not open to receive everything. And put us... What both Minister and Dr. Sincere is saying, that we would be looking for a new place for landfill development somewhere near you. And we don't want that, right? We don't want that. And is that, right? Right, good. And is that, right? So, so with that, we have come to the official end of this ceremony. We would break up a bit, but before we do, I'd just like to express our appreciation to all of you for taking the time out to come here. By your very presence, it demonstrates your interest in what's happening here at Perseverance. Not everybody wants to come to Perseverance. It's not a very pleasant place. You know, as one of the our early visitors was telling me, Mr. Hostialik, no, we expect that, you know, because, but then if we are doing what we are doing correctly, we wouldn't get that order. Now, so thank you so very much for your presence here this afternoon. And to Minister, I know that we've been overworking you for this week, and we would continue to overwork you for a few more days. And yes, thank you so very much for your presence. I noticed that a little cold progress from yesterday, but you look well. Yes. Okay, to Dr. Cynthia, yes, we're going to be working with you too over the weekend. Thank you so very much for your presence here and setting the stage for what is to happen here over the next 5 years. Mr. Roach. And the team from Mr. Roach and the team from the OECS. Barbara, where is Barbara? Right? Right. Sorry, right up front. Right. They have been here with us this week, and they would continue towards the end of this week with some meetings, etc. And those of you who have been invited to those meetings, your contribution is very vital. Your presence it would be certainly appreciated in terms of charting the way forward. We have, I forget the one from Barbados, Chelsea is also here to look at the whole issue of waste characterization. So please, thank you so very much, Mr. Roach, for presenting, giving us that overview of what is to come in terms of Recycle OECS. And as I said yesterday, we would like that that terminology to be in every household in Grenada. And we pledge as a communications department that is to be bolstered very soon, that we would reach every household and ensure that there is good compliance, right? Mr. Brave Boy for inviting God's presence here this afternoon. Mr. Robinson for setting the stage for the Solid Waste Management Authority and our expectations of this facility here in Grenada. Now the team that is responsible for the bigger project, Hydia SPA. Thank you for setting up with us, Michele and Abado in Italy. I know it's summer, so you have longer days up there. So good night, but enjoy the outdoors still. And thank you so very much for staying up with us and for handing over this wonderful facility to us here in Grenada, and for your very hard work in ensuring that we got the best design for the land space that we have offered you here at Perseverance, and Mr. Neptune for putting into context the whole birth of the project and what has transpired and what we are going to see shortly. So thank you so very much to everyone. I want to thank Mr. Oliver and his team. They've been working with us this week too, and for effectively setting up the communication network that we have here so that we are able to live stream and to have our connections with our folks in Italy and outside of Grenada. Thank you so very much. Now, at this stage, Minister would proceed up to the cell, and we have with us, we can always depend on Mandu tours. We have Mandu here with us. He's not just a tour operator. Mandu is our eye out there. He's our everything in terms of sending in complaints as they relate to waste management, the issues of illegal dumping, and all the challenges and updating. I think that Mandu knows quite a lot of this landfill more than us, because every little thing that he sees, he needs an update. And Green Group for their always being present with us. And so Mandu would take Minister and some members of the head table up to the cell for the official cutting of the ribbon. Some of you would be able to view it on screen here while the team would go up. But eventually Mandu will return to take you all up to the top of, it's not in the garbage area, right? Our maintenance building where we'd sit and enjoy and have some drinks and light refreshments. So I just asked the members of the head table, Mr. Neptune would continue to give the guided tour as Mandu takes us along the route. Thank you.